We are with Professor Jochen Wirtz. And the topic this time is one of the most intriguing that I've seen you work on over our many years of professional and personal friendship with each other, and it's cost-effective service excellence. Now, wait a minute, that sounds like an oxymoron. Like you're either cost-effective or you're service excellent, but you can't be both, can you?
Yes, I mean, this is something we have been fascinated with. We looked at leaders in industries that are both top in customer satisfaction and measured externally like customer satisfaction index.
Ta-da!
And at the same time, we look at productivity numbers such as miles per seat kilometer, borrowing per staff member, transactions per whatever. So any objective productivity measure, they're also top in their industries.
Ta-da!
Yeah, so they do both. And we looked at 10 companies that were clearly both top in satisfaction, top in productivity, and then we analyzed how did they do that, right? And I share with you, there are three sort of strategic pathways. I come to them in a while. But let me first say that actually the conflict between these two concepts is not as much or strong as one would think. What I've learned is over time, if you become a best practice organization, service organization, very often if you tidy up processes, that means your productivity increases.
Yes.
And at the same time, usually that process also works a lot better for your customers.
So you actually improve the process in a way that delivers a more consistent positive customer result and a better bottom line.
Absolutely. So every Lean Six Sigma initiative and project hunts for better outcome, better value, while at the same time cutting costs, right? And I don't know any industry where you can say, I spend more money to get better quality. I give you a very simple example. I used to live in London 30 years ago.
Yeah.
A flight from London to Munich, my hometown, cost about the same as today the cheapest flights I can get from Singapore to Munich 30 years later.
Okay.
So imagine, in 30 years, it's sort of 8 times the distance. So the revenue per seat mile has collapsed. At the same time, salaries has gone up, fuel cost has gone up, food cost has gone up, aircraft costs have gone up. So costs have gone up.
So the productivity improvements have got to be astronomical.
Absolutely. And at the same time, think about it, also the product is so much better today. In-flight entertainment, seats, food. So quality has gone up, costs have gone up, and yet revenue has collapsed. And this is true in most industries. So if people tell me I need more money to deliver
A
better quality,
experience.
I said, no. You have to think, how do you do better? And at the same time, you cut cost.
Well, that's cost-effective service excellence. So
yeah.
you say there are 3 pathways to get there? Give us one.
Absolutely. There are 3 pathways. And the first one is probably the most difficult to do.
Okay, let's start.
We call this dual culture.
Dual culture.
So, and that means, I mean, I use a few companies as examples. Let me take Singapore Airlines. And they're almost schizophrenic as an organization. Because anything that touches the customer has to ooze Singapore Airlines quality. It has to feel right, it has to look right, it has to work right. Yes,
A great way to fly.
a great way to fly.
Yeah.
If it's none of those, they wouldn't do it, right? On the other hand, anything not seen by the customer, anything behind the line of visibility,
Operations, back of house, systems and procedure. Yeah.
it's cheap, cheaper, cheapest. Cut cost, cut cost, cut cost.
I often say that if you go visit the head office of Singapore Airlines, you won't find a fish tank in the lobby.
No.
Because you have to feed the fish and you have to clean the fish tank and there's going to be costs involved and the customer will never see it.
Absolutely, right? And of course, how do you build such a culture that you make everyone from top management to customer service staff think along when to spend money and when to cut costs? So there's a lot of training, a lot of communication, and then even incentive systems. So how Singapore Airlines does that, of course, the incentive system is very easy. Everyone gets the same bonus, which is a multiple of your monthly salary, and that is hardwired against profitability.
For the whole airline.
For the whole company. And it can be very generous if you have a good profit, but worst case scenario, if there's a loss, there can be up to 20% salary cut.
Everybody then is focused on not spending money where the customer is not going to enjoy the result.
Yes. And of course, all the training and all the communications is profitability equals what? excellence because I need loyalty of the business traveler minus cost. Yeah. And what we have found in the many companies we looked at, it's a hard sell. It's not an easy sell to employees. You have to have a rallying cry. You have to have a story behind it. So Singapore Airlines is basically, it's a hyper-competitive industry. If we didn't do that, we would get out of business, right? Amazon is also has the dual culture. For them it is, Bezos says it is, give the best value to our customers.
Period.
Yeah. For Vanguard, USAA, their membership organizations, so give the best value to our members, right? And then, for example, Narayana Health in India is another example I use, and they have a large non-profit component as well. So you have to give staff a reason. Why should I give such great service externally, and why should we be so stingy internally? Inside, right? So that's the first strategy.
That's the dual culture strategy.
Yeah. Then probably the easiest strategy to follow,
The
second pathway, is what we call the focused service factory. And what you do is, instead of offering everything, you take one slice of a whole universe of solutions out and industrialize it. And in the banking industry, it's very easy to see. The fintechs, they are not a comprehensive bank. They take one thing and offer a scalable solution that is very, very low cost because it's scalable, but it does a perfect job for people who fit that business model.
Just that,
yeah. And the focused service factory is even more effective when it is involved processing something, people or things, because you have physical things moving and so on. There are much higher cost savings than for what we call information type processes like finance. For example, I use Shouldice Hospital as a case study. They only do simple external hernia, and they screen their patients to be healthy otherwise.
So they are doing essentially a factory process in healthcare, segmented specifically to a certain customer type for a certain kind of procedure.
Absolutely, yes. And that means for them, they can cut a lot of other costs. The operating theaters are very simple. We just computed the operating cost per surgery is a few dollars.
The speed is incredibly high.
Speed is incredible. Surgeons are fast. Because patients are screened to be healthy, I don't need a general anesthetic. I only take local anesthetic, which is much cheaper, much lower risk. Because of that, my patients can self-service throughout their stay in the hospital. I don't deliver medication to bed. I don't deliver food to bed. They walk around, right? So there are tons of cost savings, and in the end, the outcome is their reoccurrence rate is much lower than general hospitals. Their cost is a fraction, and the customer experience is fantastic.
And the reputation is skyrocketing because people say, if you need an external hernia, why would you want to go any other place that's trying to do everything? Go to the specialists of that service factory.
Yeah. And Devi Shetty is a surgeon in India who started the Narayana Health Group. He did the same thing of industrializing service, and he started with open heart surgery. He did the same thing on open heart surgery.
So it doesn't have to be a minor service. It can be something significant, but that is specifically what you do.
Absolutely. So he managed to bring the cost in his new Mysore facility to only $800 per surgery, something that is up to 200 times more expensive than in the US.
For open heart.
For open heart surgery.
And I would imagine that their statistical recovery rates are outstanding within the industry.
Is higher than the US average. Yeah, so it's fantastic.
Not that either of us want to go there, but if at some point a family member were to need such, that's where you would refer them.
Yes.
To the cost-effective service excellent factory.
Yes.
Pathway number 2.
Pathway number 2.
Number 3?
Number 3 is a little bit more complicated. That is what we call operations management techniques. Yeah, so from operations management, we know that the more uncertainty in a process, the less efficient and effective I can run it. So if I don't know when customers come, I don't know what customers want when they come to me, I have to keep expensive capacity and capabilities ready for them.
Flexibility, ability to respond.
Yeah. So what these operations management tools or techniques do is they try to streamline processes. These companies still do everything for customers, so they're not like the focused service factory, but they do take away options and interaction possibilities. Let me explain. What they do is they separate the front from the back office. So they buffer so that the back office can be industrialized and this front office still delivers full service expensive to the customer. Then what I do is I try to move as much as I can from the expensive front office to the industrialized back office. I slim down the front office. Then what I do with the slimmed down front office, I don't try to give you all the options anymore, but I give you a modular solution. So I think the easiest to explain is you think about set lunch menus. So rather than having the full menu, I give you fish, vegetarian, and meat. All three. And by knowing that I have these three options, so diners can come and pick any one of them, but I know from prediction, I know I probably sell 150 vegetarian, 200 fish, and 200 meat. So I know that. So I can pre-prepare. So my cost of running that lunch session is a lot lower because you come in, this food is already there, I give it to you. Right?
My back office is prepared, and the front, it looks like flexibility and option.
Yeah, but it's not anymore. Everything on the menu, it is these set menus now, right? And then, so once it's modular, it is very simple. And once it is very simple, I can move it into something we call self-service technology. So I have a little iPad and you click fish or meat or vegetarian. And then then it's a very low cost operation.
My costs have come down, but my speed, my service excellence to the customer has actually gone up.
It's gone up, yes. But we did lose some flexibility.
Yes, the experience for the customer, the expectations of the customer also had to be modified.
Yeah. So that means it takes a bit more effort to truly understand customer needs when you design those things to ease customers into this new...
Which is why you said this is the most complex.
More complicated, yeah. And to me, the world champion in this is really Google. In Google is interesting in a sense, they almost have an allergy against operational headcount. So if you're a manager and you think you have to hire someone to deliver customer service, you're going to have a hard time.
Right, but if you can improve the algorithm that will actually provide the alternatives and deliver them quickly.
You need millions to do this. It's scalable, no problem. Yeah.
And that's the key point there. Is it scalable?
Absolutely. Yeah. So here, for Google, I mean, the other thing is they're very different from Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft, everything is integrated, right? Your PowerPoint and your email and Outlook, everything is integrated, right? Google uses something we call like the Swiss Army knife approach. They develop one tool for one problem, and then another tool for another problem. But the interlinkages are either not there or kept to a minimum because if it is very simple, developers can work with it and self-serve, and we don't have a lot of bugs and problems.
You're reducing complexities.
So it has to be. So, I mean, Google is a very nice example here in a sense. They really use this self-service technologies to the extreme. For example, the advertising. They sell AdWords. And I mean, if you're a small advertiser and you don't know how to use it, you actually can't use Google. They will not give you an account manager or someone to navigate.
So you have to take responsibility for learning how that blade in the Swiss Army knife works.
Absolutely. Or what you have to do is you have to hire someone who knows, like an agency or a consultant to help you with that, right? But they say very clearly, look, we spend millions on making these self-service technologies very, very easy, error robust, and self-explanatory and intuitive, that we then do not want to add headcount to helping you to go through it. So it's a very clear strategy here.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. When you look at this idea of cost-effective service excellence, do you see this as something that is the future of service across all industries? Or will there still be room and space for the highly customized, infinitely flexible, adaptive service provider?
Of course there will be. It is more a question of how big these segments are. So I always say, you look at the Industrial Revolution. So we produce mass products at really good quality at rock bottom cost.
For a wide range of customers worldwide.
But can you still buy the handcrafted watches and handbags?
Absolutely.
Of course. It is just a much more elite market. The cost differential goes a lot higher, yes. And it really means you have to be up there in quality if you really want to focus on the excellence bit.
Right. So segmentation is incredibly
Is
important.
important,
But
yeah.
at the same time, with increasing wealth in the world, that segment isn't necessarily shrinking,
Yeah.
even as the other is growing the base.
Yes.
Very good. Cost-effective service excellence. Sounds like the two don't go together, but what you're hearing right here is how beautifully they actually can. Professor Jochen Wirtz, thank you.
Thank you, Ron.